Now on BBC One, the news at 1 o'clock with Anna Ford and Gillian Joseph.
The final dash for votes with just 18 hours to go before polling begins. Tony Blair tells voters they've only one choice, a Labour or a Tory government. Michael Howard says the Conservatives will be a government of action. Charles Kennedy says every vote for the Lib Dems will make a difference. Police launch an inquiry into the deaths of 3 babies in South Wales. A teacher jailed for firing an air pistol at a gang of youths is freed.
Later on BBC London, with less than 24 hours before the polls open, can the marginals decide the election? Dumping on London, criminal gangs cash in on the capital's illegal fly tipping trade.
Good afternoon. In the final hours of the general election campaign, the party leaders have been making their last appeals to voters. Tony Blair said Britain had one fundamental choice, a Labour or a Tory government. Michael Howard urged voters to send a message to Mr Blair and promised a government of action. Charles Kennedy claimed his party's positive campaign had set the pace and accused Mr Blair of crying wolf too many times. All 3 leaders are on whistle-stop tours of key marginal seats. Tony Blair and his entire cabinet began the morning at Finchley in North London. He then moved north to the Labour seat of Rossendale and Darwin. Michael Howard started the day at home in Folkestone before visiting the Conservative target seat of Guildford. He heads north this afternoon. And Charles Kennedy went to Brent East, won by the Lib Dems in the recent by-election. This lunchtime, he's in Leeds, and our political correspondent Sean Lay has been following the final day of campaigning.
This is BBC One. Now the news with George Alagaya, Sophie Rayworth and Emily Maitlis.
At 6 o'clock, Tony Blair, Michael Howard and Charles Kennedy live on this programme. With hours to go before the polls open, each of them faces a different challenge. Charles Kennedy, has he done enough to make the Liberal Democrats the real alternative? Michael Howard, is he the man to lift Tory fortunes after 2 heavy defeats? And Tony Blair, do voters trust him enough to give Labour an historic 3rd term? In other news, a teacher jailed for firing an air pistol at a gang of youths is freed by the Court of Appeal. Memories of the day German forces surrendered 60 years ago. As VE Day approaches, veterans are honoured.
And we're in Northampton on the last stop of the 6 o'clock election bus tour. After nearly 3,000 miles on the road, visiting 18 towns and cities across the UK, we'll be looking back at the issues you've raised during our travels.
Tonight on BBC London News, is it still the economy stupid? Which party will make this city richer? And a hospital misses breast cancer in 3 women. Now the tests of 6,000 others are re-examined.
Good evening and welcome to the 6 o'clock news. It's been a frantic last day of campaigning for all the party leaders, and in just over 12 hours the British people will go to the polls and give their verdict on who will run this country. Tonight we talk live to the Liberal Democrat leader Charles Kennedy, who's in Edinburgh, to Michael Howard, the Conservative leader who's campaigning in Tadcaster, and to the Prime Minister Tony Blair in Scarborough. All 3 are still hoping to persuade the large numbers who are unsure which way to vote. Before that, here's Andrew Marr on the climax of the campaign.
9 hours' time, the party leaders have made their final appeal to Britain's voters.
If you want the pension credit and child tax credit and the minimum wage, if you value it, vote for it. Come out and return a Labour government, because it's the only way these things will be done.
And if they vote for positive change tomorrow, the country will wake up on Friday morning to a brighter, better future for Britain.
If you agree with our principles, you support our values, go out and vote Liberal Democrat, because what you'll do is you'll elect Liberal Democrats. That's the message.
We'll have all the day's news from the campaign. We'll have the latest opinion polls on the eve of this general election. Also tonight, 7 years after the Omagh bombing, a man is expected to be charged with murder. One of Al-Qaeda's top figures has been arrested in Pakistan. Dozens of veterans gather to commemorate the 60th anniversary of VE Day.
In BBC London News, the final campaign countdown in the capital, the last-minute electioneering in London's marginal seats, and the clampdown on the black market in bushmeat that's worth millions of pounds.
Good evening. The election campaign of 2005 is over. The party leaders have made their final appeals. The polling stations will open at 7 in the morning. Tonight's opinion polls still indicate a Labour lead, but Tony Blair insisted again this evening that the race would be far closer than the polls suggested. He said voters faced a basic choice between a Labour government and a Conservative one. While Michael Howard, also speaking tonight, urged Britain to turn a new leaf and to both vote the Tories and vote for change. And Charles Kennedy declared that his opponents were badly rattled by a surge in support for the Lib Dems. Mark Mardell reports now on the eve of Election Day.
The news now on BBC One with Darren Jordan and Riz Latif. It's 1 o'clock.
Britain's voters deliver their verdict on who will form the next government. 9 hours to go, polling stations are open across the UK. 2 small devices explode at the British consulate in New York. No one is hurt. Computer giant IBM is cutting thousands of jobs across Europe. And why elderly patients could be refused some medical treatments because of their age.
On BBC London, dirty water, why the European Commission is now investigating the sewage spillage in the Thames. And All the World's a Stage, we talk to the Globe director as he begins his final season.
Good afternoon. Britain's 44 million voters are today getting their chance to deliver their verdict in the general election. Party leaders have been among the first casting their votes as the UK decides who'll form the next government. Polling stations have been open for just over 6 hours now. MPs are being chosen in 645 seats across the UK. And voters have until 10 o'clock tonight to cast their ballots. There's also voting in 37 English council elections. And votes for 4 mayors are taking place. And in Northern Ireland, there are 26 local councils up for election. Well, our political correspondent, Laura Trevelyan, is at a polling station in West London. Laura.
Yes, Darren, after all...
This is BBC One. Now, George Alagaya and Sophie Rayworth with the latest BBC News.
At 6 o'clock, a day of decision. All over the UK, the voters are making their mark. The first results are just hours away.
Also tonight, life in jail for the teenager who murdered jeweller Marion Bates as she tried to protect her daughter.
A decent sentence to a very indecent act.
New York police investigate an explosion. It happened outside the British consulate building.
Michael Jackson's defence team opened their case. They've lined up an all-star cast, including Elizabeth Taylor.
Should your age make a difference to the medicine you're entitled to get? New advice from the NHS watchdog.
And on a special edition of BBC London News, we're live at the Imperial War Museum, where we'll be meeting some of the faces that were in the crowd as the capital celebrated victory over Nazi Germany 60 years ago.
Good evening and welcome to the 6 o'clock news. After weeks of campaigning, the party leaders were like everyone else today. They cast their votes and now have to wait for the nation's verdict. 44 million people have the right to vote. In a few hours, we'll begin to learn just how many have actually done so.
Well, there are 4 hours left to vote. Polling stations have been open since 7 o'clock this morning. MPs are being chosen in 645 seats across the UK. There's also voting in 37 English council elections, and votes for 4 mayors are taking place. And in Northern Ireland, there are 26 local councils up for election. Our political correspondent, Laura Trevelyan, has been following the day's events up and down the UK.
This is BBC One, now live and uninterrupted, all the drama of election night, with David Dimbleby.
The voting's almost done. The excitement of election night is about to begin. Hello and welcome to our election night spectacular. We promise to be fast, we promise to be accurate, and we promise to have some fun. All round me in this studio, in these galleries, are the experts who'll be counting and checking and analysing the results as they come in. Our star reporters are out in the country at the key counts. We've got our cameras at all the places that matter. At Sunderland South, where they're just having a final rehearsal of getting the boxes in, they plan to be the first to declare. At Portsmouth, Guildhall, where the postal ballots are being taken up the steps, postal ballots that can go in now, of course, ready to be counted along with the other votes. And at Enfield in London, a Tory target, the seat that Michael Portillo famously lost in 1997. With me here in the studio, the best in the business, Professor Anthony King of Essex University, and Andrew Marr, the BBC's political editor. What kind of a night are we in for, Andrew?
David, I will be very surprised if we don't have a night of surprises. I think there are going to be some extraordinary results tonight. I have never known an election where the party headquarters were as jittery about what's really going on out there in the country. I think we will see safe seats falling. I think we will see marginals obstinately refusing to wobble. I think it is going to be a thrilling evening.
And across the studio, in his own bull ring, Jeremy Paxman.
I was thinking of it more as a salon, actually, where during the course of the evening, various of the most distinguished figures of British politics will come sit on these chairs here and try to make sense of what's happening, secure in the knowledge that by the time the sun rises tomorrow morning, they may not have a job.
And up behind me there in the gallery, Fiona Bruce.
Yes, I'll be keeping you up to date with the events of the night as it progresses, the state of the parties, the votes as they come in, the key speeches, and those not-to-be-missed moments all the way through till tomorrow morning.
And, of course, no election night would be complete without the man who can make the most complex things seem clear. Peter Snow.
Good evening, officer. Yes, we're all ready for the excitement here. Now they're pushing the frontiers of technology right to the extreme to illustrate the results of this election and tell you what the whys and hows of the vote were. Right down the end of Downing Street there, waiting at the starting gate, the three party leaders will be watching their race for number 10 every inch of the way. Hang on, Mr. Blair, wait for the results.
Well, now, the first event of election night is the exit poll. It's our first clue to what's happened today in the voting. And this year we've joined forces with ITV for this poll. It's an NOP Mori poll. We've spoken to over 16,000 voters at 120 polling stations at huge expense, out of 146,000 or so, 46,000 I think it is, polling stations. So what credence are we going to give to this when it comes through in just a moment?
The exit poll is an absolutely fascinating clue, no question, but it's no more than that. Usually the clue is right, but famously in 1992 it was completely wrong. The exit poll said a Labour government, the voters said a Tory government.
As Big Ben strikes 10, the polling stations will close. It will be too late to vote.